Notice that I touched on what, I don't know what you're saying.
I noticed that. And that's okay, because I'm not sure where we're going either. But if your opinion is that I'm dragging this out, I'm stalling because I have some trepidation about moving into Revelation, you may be right about it.
On Facebook a while ago, looking to see if anything was going on, and they had a church, I think it's in Virginia, and I think it was West Virginia. The preacher put on the sign, Satan was the first one that wanted equality. And he's gotten the liberals, people do U-turns and go back and read his sign again, and they're screaming at it.
Wow, I guess so. That's rather controversial.
And he says that he put it up, he wanted people to think that knew the Bible, and think about what happened and all, and these people that don't know anything about the Bible, they think they turn him into a hater.
Yeah. Wow, how politically incorrect, but that is a very profound thought, isn't it? I mean, isn't that not one of the quintessential points of the pride of life, is this whole idea of equality? And what we do is we take this pride, this evil thing called pride, and we try to legitimize it by calling it equality. All I want is equality, and it sounds good, doesn't it? But as you say, it's
and what he's saying is that the devil wanted equality with God.
Right. That's right.
These other people, they just turning it around, and it's unreal, what the left thinks about.
That's a
They
profound
don't
thought.
believe in the devil, but they sure got mad when he said the devil was, was the first one.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That is a very profound thought. Well, we're going to try to do some catching up. I don't know if we're going to be able to move into high gear today. That's my goal, to try to get to where Tommy said we thought we ought to be, and maybe we'll get there this time, maybe we won't.
I think I would just,
I know.
rolling with the punch.
Rolling with the punches, that's what we all got to do. All right, last time we left off at about chapter 2, verse 15. Do not love the world nor the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. We talked about that as being something, how can we not love the world? How can we not love things in the world? My wife and my children, my grandchildren are things in the world. Should I not love them? Well, that's really not what this means. This really has to do with ordering your priorities. And I read a statement this week that I wanted to share with you, that, and a couple of them relate to this principle. And these come out of a book that we studied a year or so ago called Experiencing God. And a couple of profound thoughts that I saw in there that I read this week. This is tough. It says, to be loved by God is the highest relationship, the greatest achievement, and the noblest position in life. We think about what pride infects us with. Pride infects us with what? The desire for power, the desire to be recognized, the desire to have the applause of men. If our singular focus was simply to be loved by God, and to think that that is the greatest achievement in my life. I don't need to have a bunch of certificates up on my wall. I don't need to hold a high office. I don't need to have a resume that's a yard long. If all I can say, if my resume simply says that God loves me, that I'm a child of God, that's enough. And if you can be satisfied with that, then you have your priorities. You're beginning to get your priorities straight. You're not going to be infected by the pride of life or the love of the world, because you have devoted yourself to your first love. And then by the same token, the second one is that a love relationship with God is more important than any single factor in your life. I don't know about you. When I was reflecting on that, I thought about, and I don't know why this popped into my head, but I've got to share this with you. I have a love-hate relationship with my computer at work. And the reason I say that is that, for example, my assistant tells me all the time, you need to get a new computer. I say, no, I do not want a new computer. Well, at least can we update your programs? No, I don't want my programs updated. I don't want anything to be changed. I don't want anybody to intentionally put an update on any of my programs on my computer, nor do I tolerate what I call drive-by updates. Those are the updates that, you know, you turn your computer on, you want to update, you know, and you can't do anything except yes. It always confuses me and disrupts me. Then sometimes I'm working along, I think I'm just going about my daily task, and all of a sudden my computer, it just slows down or it freezes up, and I get to my wit's end. I call my assistant, Penny, come in, you know, my computer's not working. She's very patient with me, very respectful. She says, well, how many programs do you have running? Well, I may have 2 or 3 Excel spreadsheets going, and I probably have my Westlaw computerized legal research going. I probably got 2 or 3 Word documents that I'm working on. I probably got 20 emails open, and she'll say, well, maybe you should shut a few of those things down. Do you need to have all these programs? Well, no. Okay, I don't. So I shut them down, and then I start, you know, I'm going to focus on my legal research, and everything works fine. And she says, all right, well, just call me if you need any other help. All right.
Well, let me go. Having gone down that road too,
Uh-huh.
one day you're gonna go in and turn on your computer and it's not gonna turn on.
Right.
You know, that's
Yeah.
been there, and when you don't update it, eventually that's what happens.
Well,
And then everything-
thanks for the good news.
And everything you thought you had, you don't really have.
He'll just call me.
This, really, I mean, if you have it, he is exactly right. Updating is extremely important. And what you do is you set up an automatic update for particular programs in your state. And you want those programs, you have to have it.
He doesn't know how to
If
do
you're
that.
running 7 professional, 8.1, or even 10, you still have to have it. You have to have it updated.
But the downside to the updates are one day you're gonna update it, and it's gonna flash back up after the update, you're gonna say, whose computer is this?
That's exactly right. Now,
Even on your cell phones. you
I did
can
not
update.
open up this can of, go ahead, Kenny.
That's what I was gonna say. I had my other phone's battery started with old, so they give me another, it's a used phone, the same kind of phone.
Mm-hmm.
But my daughter-in-law says, well, look, if all these updates, let me update it. That sucker does not look anywhere like the one I had
Exactly,
before.
exactly, yeah. Now, I did not open up this can of worms to disclose to you my expertise or lack thereof in computer sciences. Rather, my point was to get down to a more spiritual level. Sometimes when our lives are just really fouled up and things have come to a stop or we're just very frustrated, what we need to do is just shut down the extraneous programs. That's right, we need to reboot. I need to focus
We need to
on...
update.
That's right. Update, there you go. That's a good word. We need to update.
Defrag, well,
That's right. You're getting way over my head there. But we need to focus on the fact that what we really ought to be doing is focusing on our love relationship with God, right? Because everything else tends to run afoul if we get off of that program, if you will. It's just to focus on the fact that my purpose in life is to be loved by God and to love God. And if we do that, if we have the love of God within us, then everything else has a tendency to go right.
Well, see, mine is, with all this and studying the Bible and everything, like I say, I only can hold so much and it drops off. It has to because I just always go back that believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. And
There you go. There you go.
That's my reboot, I guess.
That's a pretty good reboot. Pretty good reboot. You know, also in Experiencing God, we have it at the very back of the book, the 7 spirits of truth. The first one of which is the revelation that God is always at work around us. You know, and sometimes we forget about that. And the idea there is that we should pray and hope that we have spiritual eyes so that we can see where God is working, because He is always at work around it. But the second one is equally important, and it says that God pursues a continuing love relationship with you that is real and personal. God continues to pursue a relationship with you that is real and personal. You know, God is pursuing us. He wants to have a love relationship with us, and what do we do most of the time?
Run.
We're moving in a different direction, okay? We're moving, and sometimes we just need to stop and, as you say, reboot, and just say, you know, God is pursuing a love relationship with me. I need to stop and just let that happen, you know? And it's amazing how much better life will be if we just stop and do that, you know? And sometimes we get, you know, and I'm not telling you anything that's new, and I'm not trying to say that I don't have the same problems. I have a tendency to get so bogged down in things that I think are important in my life. you know, working on a case, I got something else going on, I just get so focused on that, I forget about everything else. And I need to, I'm telling myself this too, I just need to stop and just remember that God is pursuing. I don't need peanut gallery.
I'm just, I'm agreeing with
Yeah, just need to stop and remember, God is pursuing a love relationship with me, and that's really my purpose in life. You know, I get sidetracked by things that just really aren't important. I need to focus on that, and then life gets so much better. If you can, and we'll do that. Yes, sir.
I would say, I reboot back to that quite frequently because your life just gets chaotic and you
Yeah.
have to go back to that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would add, to me, a third point is that we own nothing.
Mhm.
God owns everything. He loans us whatever we have.
Yeah, that's right.
And it just really puts you where you need to be. Because you own absolutely nothing. Everything is a gift.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we didn't earn anything. We can't maintain anything forever. It's just a loan. Good point.
I got one other thing that I'll try to be quiet.
Well, I doubt that, but go ahead.
Well, you see, I've always in my life been an introvert, and I never, you know, I got in trouble when I graduated because I went home and somebody was there to see me, and I didn't think anybody, it was just another day to me. Anyway, what it is, I think it's August, you know, the program you showed us where
Yeah.
they said it's, this guy says it's.
The Shemitah cycle?
Yeah, where they line up the planets and
Yeah.
everything. It said it's August the 27th of next year. They're close now, but they're gonna line up next year, August the 27th.
No, that Shemitah cycle actually comes to fruition
He said-
this year, like September the
13th.
The 13th, somewhere in this fall,
This guy says
this year.
it's a program, you know,
Uh-huh.
somebody put it on there. And he says it's gonna line, everything is, all of them's gonna line up next year. Maybe this, if I look, maybe, they talked about this year, it might have been on there before.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't put the dates, but he said it's gonna line up first time in 2,000 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, we had what happened in 2001, September 2001, and then September of 2008. Those are 7-year cycles.
Right.
And there's prophecies and predictions out here that it'll be the third
Which is
7
this
years this coming fall. So just, you know, again, may or may not happen, but be prepared for it. I'm really prepared.
He said that this says August the 27th is when, I guess, the way he talked, which I understood to be this year, it's close. But he said it's gonna be the first time in 2,000 years. You know, it gives you something to think about.
Well,
Where we are, what
yeah,
we're doing.
that video that Warren loaned to me called the Blood Moons. The pastor who was the author of that said something very profound, and that is that we may be the generation that sees the return of the Messiah. That's a rather sobering thought, isn't it? So,
Well, that's what he's, you know, saying is this, you know, when they do line up,
yeah, yeah.
this may be showing his return.
Yeah, a lot of prophecy. All right, let's continue marching on through. Let's look at 1 John chapter 2. Let's start at verse 18. Jackie, would you read that for us?
Dear children, this is the last hour. And as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come. This is how we know it is the last hour.
Pause right there just a second. The focus here is on the Antichrist, and not just in the singular, but John says, even now many Antichrists have arisen. Have you ever stopped to think and even question who is the Antichrist of our age? It is said that, of course, you know, sometimes we focus on the Antichrist that is spoken about in Revelation, who will come at the end of time, around the time that Christ returns. But it is also said that there is an Antichrist of every age. Who or what is the Antichrist of our age?
Mama.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that.
I don't remember what her name is, but one time when we first got cable, that they were having a round table discussion. They had a prostitute, a father, this woman that wrote a book on Paul, and somebody else. And somebody during that or whatever, she said Paul was just like a person, just, you know, this story about Paul is he was just fumbling along through life, and these things are happening. And the statement, I don't remember which one, it must have been her, made the statement that I have debunked Paul, now I'm going after Jesus.
Wow.
Wow.
That is certainly the spirit of the Antichrist. But what is the spirit of the Antichrist that he's writing about here?
Of our age.
Yeah. Well, but in general, what is the spirit of the Antichrist? What is the Antichrist? What is the message of the Antichrist?
Same message
God,
as Satan.
Jesus is not.
Yeah, one is that Jesus is not the Messiah, that Jesus is not who he said he was or is, and it's not that Jesus is not the Messiah that was prophesied in the Old
I'd
Testament.
almost go say it's a voice coming from somewhere that says, don't let God tell you what to do.
Yep.
Do your own thing.
Yeah. Be yourself.
Yep.
Don't let God tell you what to do.
Yep.
And it comes in a lot of different flavors.
It really does. And what Lindsay just said is epitomized by political correctness. Isn't political correctness in the spirit of the Antichrist? Because, you know, political correctness preaches equality. And what did you just tell us about equality? That's what Satan wanted from the beginning.
I think there's another article in that paper that I just gave you, and it's, come on now, Brain, it's in line with that, you know, there's really, well, he talks about, it's the politics, different ones, he's written somewhere about the Republican candidates, and how some of them have been in church and they're out of church and they go to this church, and then they go back to that church, and they're saying that, you know, that,
Yeah.
anyway, I've lost my track.
Well, you'll catch up later. All right, in this context of who is the Antichrist or what is the Antichrist? The Antichrist, the spirit of the Antichrist is that which would distract you from the message of Christ or the message of God. Political correctness. You know, in the name of political correctness, we're seeing more and more of movement towards the acceptance of Islam. You know, I remember when, right after 9/11 happened in 2001, President Bush, a man for whom I voted twice and a man whom I respected and still respect greatly, he came on TV and spoke about Islam as being the great religion of peace. I heard that and I shook my head. Even someone like that, somebody who I respect, who would call Islam, who would say anything positive about Islam, I think is under the influence of the Antichrist. And why do I say that? I want to give you just a little bit of information about Islam. You see that picture right up there, that building that sits on top of the Temple Mount with the gold dome? What's that called? The Dome of the Rock. One of the most sacred places to Islam. It's one of the three most sacred places. The rock, which I believe is the threshing floor of Ornan, is right below that, but Islam claims that from that spot, Muhammad ventured up into heaven from there. He ascended into heaven from there, and so it's a very holy place to them. If you go there, which Jackie and I did, you can see a lot around the outside of the building there. There are many Islamic inscriptions. If you go inside, there are also some inscriptions. And I have for you, if you want to have a copy of it, a transcript of all of the writing that's on the outside and the inside of the Dome of the Rock. And believe it or not, the inscriptions on the inside of the Dome of the Rock refer to Jesus. And they also speak of Allah, okay? And there are many folks these days, I would venture to say that the vast majority of Americans, probably people throughout the world, believe and would try to convince you that Allah is Jehovah God. That is just as wrong as it can be. you know, in the name of political correctness, they say, well, you worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the same thing as Allah.
If you really want to know who he is, look on the top of the minaret at the
Yeah.
mosque, and what's there?
What is it?
There's one here in Baton Rouge. It's a moon.
The moon, okay.
Yeah, Allah is a moon god. He was
Yeah.
a moon god from ancient time.
Literally the Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
Yeah. Allah is one of the panoply of gods that was
You know,
selected.
it's on every mosque, and people go,
Yeah,
why they put a moon up there?
yeah. Let me just read you a few things that are on the inscription. Like I said, I've got a copy for anybody who wants it. And if you look through these things, there's some letters here, S and SE. This is the south face, the southeast face, and the east face. And these are just a few of the things. It starts off that, in the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, there is no God but Allah. Okay, there is no God but Allah. He is one. Get this. He has no associate. Some of the translations say that he has no associate means he has no son. But it gets clearer than that. On the east side, there's a reference to the Messiah. Jesus, the son of Mary, was only a messenger of Allah, and his word which he conveyed unto Mary and a spirit from him. So believe in Allah and his messengers, and say not three. This continues to say that deny the three, deny the Trinity, in other words. And here's something that's repeated too. This is on the northwest side of it. It says, it befitteth not the majesty of Allah that he should take unto himself a son. And so one of the themes of Allah is that Allah is one, there is no Trinity, and that Allah not only has no son, but it would be beneath him to take unto himself a son. So, Islam denies the sonship of Christ. This would deny to say that God, that Allah has no son. Therefore, obviously, the father of Jesus is not Allah. It says repeatedly that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. It says that Allah, he begetteth not, nor was he begotten, who hath not taken unto himself a son, and hath no partner in the sovereignty. Okay, he has no partner in the sovereignty. But here's the crowning pitch that I want to make. We're going to learn later about false teachers, and false teachers are those who would teach something other than the Scripture. But I'm going to teach you a verse in the Quran. This is in the Quran. There are many of these things. I've printed you one of them, but there are many on this theme. And the literal translation is, this is Quran 3, I guess it's chapter 3, verse 34, 54, is it? And they cheated and deceived, and Allah cheated and deceived, and Allah is the best of the cheaters and deceivers. Get that? Allah, the Quran says that Allah is the best of the cheaters and deceivers. Now, question. Does the Quran tell you who Allah really is? Who is the best of the cheaters and deceivers?
Satan.
Say,
Okay? That's who he is. That's who Allah is. And that's what the Quran says. I'm not suggesting that the Quran is truth, but I believe that one verse is a light of truth in the Quran, where it reveals that Allah, whom they worship, the deity whom they worship, is the best of the cheaters and deceivers.